Debating the value of so many candidate face-offs.
You didn't know that there was a debate tonight?
I had no idea.
I haven't seen any of the debates.
With the mayoral by-election less than 1 month away, we turn to voters to see whether they're tapped in on an evening where the top candidates squared off again.
I think that it's good for people to know just to be themselves and to not feel like they have to hide anything.
Plus, battling fear with faith. See how Toronto Catholic students stood up in the face of anti-pride rules in other schools within our region.
The fire danger rating for this area and a lot of northern Ontario is extreme right now.
And the extreme fire risk just a couple hours north of Toronto. Will break down what cottage owners are being forced to do as the heat warnings continue. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We begin, though, with the heat on the debate stage tonight. The top mayoral candidates squared off again, this time before an audience at Toronto Metropolitan University. It is one of several debates these candidates have already taken part in, and the mayoral by-election is now less than 1 month away. Patrick Swadden took a look tonight at the impact of all these debates.
You haven't given a number to the public that people are going to be paying for.
All right.
A jab from Mark Saunders.
Or you can vote for Mark Saunders, who'd be a puppet of Doug Ford.
Anna Bilow comes out with a cross.
Come on, Anna, you know that program, and I will continue with that program.
And a hook from Olivia Chow. But are Torontonians listening?
I think that as we see more and more debates, it becomes easier to sort of tune them out.
Last week alone, these candidates debated 4 times, all within 48 hours. Spicer thinks it would serve voters and candidates better to have fewer debates.
Like one with each of the major networks, and that would be it. And voters, would have a date on the calendar that they could look forward to.
He says most municipal debates are seen by a very small audience, and candidates are often better off canvassing directly with voters. Some of the frontrunners have skipped debates, and speaking to these Torontonians, that might have been the right way to go.
But you didn't know that there was a debate tonight?
I had no idea.
I haven't seen any of the debates.
Did you know that there was a debate tonight?
Actually, I did not.
But they all still plan to vote, even with an historic 102 candidates centered around 6 leading contenders.
I think what we see here is a highly competitive race. We have, candidates who represent our city.
The founder of the Democratic Engagement Exchange says the number of candidates is actually an advantage to voters.
Most of the candidates, the leading candidates, are born in other places, so that people can connect with them. They should be able to find somebody that they can connect with, and that is often helps drive turnout.
And he expects that turnout to be much higher than 2022's mayoral election, the lowest in the city's history. Meanwhile, Spicer says even with all the debates, major candidates have largely been conserving resources, and the real race will take off in June.
Over the next couple of weeks, each of those campaigns is going to really start voter outreach, and they're really going to start picking up advertising. So it's going to be very noticeable that an election's happening.
Voters will decide the city's next mayor on June 26th. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
And the debates keep rolling with one from us. Next week, you can catch the frontrunners making their pitch to be the city's next mayor in a debate hosted by CBC Toronto. That's next Tuesday, June 6th, from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And you can stream it live on our website, Facebook page, CBC Gem, and YouTube, or listen live on CBC Radio. Now to a story of Catholic students in Toronto standing up against homophobia. At a pride party in the Beach today, students used their faith as a guiding principle to urge people across our community to turn to acceptance instead of fear. It comes after the York Catholic District School Board decided not to fly the pride flag next month. Talia Ricci has more on Toronto's Catholic Pride Party and why it's such a major deal for queer families.
Wow! That is the largest pride flag that I have ever seen.
It was all sunshine and rainbows today at St. Denis Catholic School's Pride celebration.
I think that it's good for people to know just to be themselves and to not feel like they have to hide anything.
I think it's important to celebrate Pride to support the LGBTQ+ community.
Students, staff, and families say today's event recognizes the importance of diversity, inclusion, acceptance, and love. A permanent art installation designed by the students at the school was also unveiled.
This is an opportunity for us to showcase kind of how Catholicity and love come together. The kids all know that every single one of them is loved, every single one of them is included.
This comes one day after the chair of the York Catholic School Board defended its decision to not fly the pride flag, saying it doesn't align with their faith and hoping others take note of that decision. But the Toronto Catholic School Board says it's recognizing Pride Month and stands in solidarity with the 2S LGBTQ+ community, a statement that makes this family proud.
It's the perfect counterbalance, and we're very proud to finally send the right message from the Catholic Board.
I'm moved by what's going on here. It's amazing. Really happy for my kids, our family. We're not the typical, Catholic family, but we love that we feel good here.
Pride celebrates nature and the beauty of the world.
Former Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne was in attendance, saying all schools have a duty to help kids feel accepted.
Creating a safe environment is their mandate. I mean, it's in the Education Act. It is part of their job to create a safe environment. I would say it's fundamental to their job. So this is what we should be doing at this time of year.
All schools at the Toronto District School Board were directed to fly the pride flag today. For its part, the Ontario government encouraged other school boards to do the same. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Police are searching for 2 suspects tonight after a shooting in Scarborough left 1 person with critical injuries. Officers were called to Kingston Road and Morningside Avenue at around 7:15 for reports of gunshots. They found 1 man at the scene with life-threatening injuries, and he was rushed to the hospital. Police say 2 men in their mid-20s were seen fleeing the area. Developing news tonight, Toronto police say that they've arrested a 14-year-old girl after fireworks were set off inside a packed TTC bus. She's been charged with mischief endangering life after video of the incident went viral online. And that dangerous stunt is just one of several incidents involving fireworks on the transit system in recent days. Thomas Dagla has that story tonight.
In the Tuesday afternoon rush hour, a young person is seen smiling, shooting fireworks on a crowded Toronto transit bus in motion.
It's not possible.
Other riders are heard screaming as the bus fills with smoke.
It's reckless, it's irresponsible, and it's illegal. And it's why we take these things so seriously.
It's a brazen stunt on a transit network that's seen a rash of violence this year, and the Commission now reporting more than half a dozen similar fireworks incidents since just last week.
It was disturbing because TTC should be a safe place to travel.
It's no good. Sometimes I'm scared to take the TTC.
Now that I've seen and I'm now going to the bus, it's really scary.
The website 6Buzz says it was sent this video and paid someone to buy the clip. The same site shared another video last year showing a similar incident that sparked panic.
If you're doing this in order to get notoriety online, then I'm concerned that what it would take the next time to get even more notoriety and how you're going to affect other people.
In the latest incident, this common brand of fireworks appears to have been used, advertised as shooting to a height of 25 meters.
All those people were in a very bad scenario on that bus.
At this special effects business, they stress safety first when selling fireworks because they say the blast can cause serious harm.
They could risk other dismemberment and other severe injuries due to the size and the volume of the effect that was produced.
Police were given transit bus security video for their investigation, not to mention this clip, apparently posted as a stunt. Now it's key evidence. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Big sports news today. The Toronto Maple Leafs have a new general manager. The team has hired former Calgary Flames GM Brad Treliving to fill the role. The 53-year-old left the Flames back in April following 9 seasons that included 5 playoff appearances, and he will replace former GM Kyle Dubas, who was dismissed by the Leafs earlier this month. Treliving will be left with some key decisions, of course, including the future of head coach Sheldon Keefe. Meanwhile, Stars Austin Matthews and William Nylander can sign contract extensions as of July 1st. It almost feels like July 1st out there. Calm and warm tonight. That is certainly your weather story this evening. Colette Kennedy is tracking the summer-like heat, intensifying tomorrow. And Colette, heat warnings are in effect for tomorrow right into Friday.
Yes, we certainly had the warm temperatures today, but as we go into the next couple of days, just that little bit warmer, a little more humidity, and the overnight temperatures in the upper teens. So we do have the heat warning in place. You can see here for the city around the GTA, and of course I've been talking about it in Northern Ontario for the last couple of days, checking out some of the daytime highs for the city. Not a record today, but Pearson tomorrow, quite likely we are going to capture a new daytime high. The first 2 days of June, the records are just a little bit lower, so that's why we have a very good chance at it. Also, we've had the air quality statement for some low-level ozone, some poor air quality here in the pollution. Now, it was 7 today, 7 tonight, but tomorrow, if you look at that forecast, it will be more in the moderate range. So coming down, we may see that statement lifted. The UV index remains very high, even though the sunshine may be a little hazy tomorrow. 18 overnight, and that high 31 with a humidex around 34. We do cool down into the weekend, and I will show you that coming up.
All right. Thank you, Colette. And all that heat is leading to an extreme fire risk in some parts of our region. Greg Ross traveled to Parry Sound, where fire crews have already had a few close calls and fear the worst has yet to come.
There was a fire yesterday down in, it was in Muskoka Lakes.
Fire Chief Gord Harrison says local crews had to scramble to get that island fire under control. He says it could have been far worse.
It ended up being a couple of acres of forest that was impacted, plus part of the cottage. So, but they were able to save a lot of the cottage.
He says fire crews across the Parry Sound district have to be on high alert.
What we see right now is really dry conditions. The fire danger rating for this area and a lot of Northern Ontario is extreme right now, which is about the highest level you can get.
Conditions are very similar to what residents here saw 5 years ago.
So 2018 was a very bad year in this area, really dry. It was compounded by the big fire that was referred to as Parry Sound 33, which was just at the very north end of the district. But it was a huge fire that took a long time to bring under control.
This charred grass is the remnants of a bushfire this past weekend. It happened in the heart of Parry Sound, impacting about a 30 by 30 meter section of this wooded area. It also forced firefighters to temporarily halt all train service on this trestle bridge.
Well, flames all course all through this area and loud snapping and crackling sounds.
Jim McCoubry lives just steps from this fire. He was first on scene, shoveling dirt on the flames to slow them down, doing his best to protect his home.
I mean, that goes through your mind right away, too. But, I mean, you don't want it to go into anybody's house. I mean, I live, like I say, 3 houses down, and then there's, other people, seniors and young children right here. You want to help as much as you can.
Fire crews were able to get this one under control very quickly, but they haven't been as lucky in other parts of the province.
We have seen quite a significant fire hazard across the province over the last week, which has caused new fires to be discovered. Currently, we're seeing 17 active fires across the province.
8 of those fires are in the northeast region and 9 more in the northwest, the largest near Sioux Lookout, which is impacting more than 10,000 hectares. As a precaution, many of these areas are banning recreational fires at campsites and cottages.
It's easy. All you need is a gust of wind, and then the fire starts to spread, and you can't get it under control in time because of the dry conditions, and it will just go wherever the wind takes it.
People are also being cautioned against using fireworks or throwing cigarette butts on the ground in regions that are under severe threat of wildfires. They say conditions are only going to continue to get worse until these areas get a significant amount of rainfall. Greg Ross, CBC News, Parry Sound.
Returning now to a story we brought you last night, farmers speaking out against a Ford government plan to allow homes on agricultural land. Today, the province confirming it would bow to that pressure. Lorenda Redekop walks us through the reversal and the reaction to it.
This is unusual to see such a complete switch like this, but the government was hearing from both individual farmers and also large agricultural organizations. They argued that this would lead to the loss of prime agricultural land in the province. It would have meant that farms could be severed into up to 3 separate lots. Now the government says it is not going ahead with this, but it will move into consultations.
Just to make sure there's adequate time for ideas that don't involve severances. And the Premier made that commitment at one of the meetings he had with farm organizations, and I stand with the Premier. I think that's a great idea.
Farm organizations, more than a dozen of them, have come out with a joint statement. They're calling it extremely encouraging that the government is willing to work with the farming community to find solutions. The opposition was less charitable in its response.
It was pretty clear as well, I think, that the government at least seemed to acknowledge that they had not consulted. They hadn't asked anybody. I don't know where this idea came from, but it's yet another really terrible idea.
The farmers pushed back on the severance issue, which would have been a frontal assault on agriculture across the entire province. Now the Premier and the Housing Minister need to listen to farmers, citizens, community groups, environmentalists, and say, you know what? We're going to permanently protect prime farmland in this province.
Part of what the Green Party leader is referring to there is the opening up of the Greenbelt. He'd like a reversal on that as well. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News.
Hey, welcome back. Safety on our streets is proving to be a top issue as Torontonians decide who will be the next mayor next month. After a number of recent deaths involving pedestrians and cyclists, Ali Chiasson pressed some top mayoral candidates for their plans to improve road safety.
There have been 13 fatalities on the road this year, most recently on Sunday when a cyclist was struck and killed by a driver. The day before that, a jogger was struck by a motorcycle along the lakeshore and is still fighting for his life. And a woman is in hospital in life-threatening condition after being hit by a truck while crossing the street only yesterday.
It doesn't sound like we are anywhere near that goal of reaching 0 road deaths, a goal that was set in 2017 when the city launched the Vision Zero project. Do you remember that?
We have more work to do. That is the answer.
What does candidate Brad Bradford propose?
Investments to make our streets safer. That requires enforcement to slow speeds down for those who are speeding through our neighborhoods, and it requires education.
Meanwhile, Anna Bailau says she would go high-tech.
You know, we need everybody to feel safe in the city. It doesn't matter if you're taking the TTC, if you're walking or cycling, and that's why we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure and the technologies.
More speed enforcement cameras and something similar on TTC streetcars to photograph and ticket drivers who don't stop at the doors. Candidate Josh Matlow says he would have a team look at our worst intersections and get jackhammering.
As your mayor, I'm going to be investing an additional $33 million into capital improvements to redesign our roads, to make them safer.
People say, well, streets were made for cars. No, they weren't. Actually, they were made to move people.
Ingrid Boudet is with the Friends and Family for Safer Streets organization. They advocate for those injured and families of loved ones who have died on Toronto roads. She says reaching Vision Zero targets will take just that, vision, and
I will put it right down to political will.
She says the issue isn't about who's team car or team cyclists, but making room for everyone.
We need to reallocate that road space and still leave space for cars. And if we give that safe road space for non-vehicle users, then more people will use that, as has been proven all over the world, and then that will give more space to the drivers that need to be there. And who is looking at infrastructure that protects everyone? Our streets should be for everyone.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
And talking about being safe on our streets, Colette, when the weather gets this hot, there are certainly precautions that people need to take to protect themselves.
Yeah, when we haven't seen the hot weather in a while, we have to kind of remind ourselves of certain things. We do have the heat warning I was showing you a little earlier in the show. So just a reminder of some of the symptoms of heat exhaustion. Dizziness can be a rapid heartbeat and really feeling like your heart's racing, a headache, or feeling faint. You need to definitely take it easy if you get into any of these kinds of symptoms. And ways to sort of tackle this heat, especially when we get a little humidity creeping in here. Of course, lots of water. water. That is an obvious one, but some cool showers can really calm you down too. Loose clothing, staying in the shade, speaking of stating the obvious, but also just a really important reminder not to leave pets or kids, obviously, in the car. It is just too warm. And also the pavement can be very warm. They need lots of water as well. The precipitation outlook, not much happening for the Great Lakes region, but we do have a cold front that's going to be approaching for Friday night. So we've got the heat warning for the next couple of days. And then later on Friday, as that comes in, the slightest chance for a few showers pushing through. Not a lot to it, but at this point, you know, we'll take anything we can get. Today's the 11th day we've had at Pearson without any measurable rain. So that's into Friday, but behind this front, what we will see as we go into the weekend, still some sunshine mixing with clouds at times Friday and Saturday, but the temperatures are going to cool down. So it's a bit moisture starved, but it is going to have an impact on a cooler air mass that's going to move in. And so we'll kind of exchange things here. Overnight tonight, those temperatures pretty mild when you're talking about a low of 18, 17 for Oshawa, a little cooler due to the lake breeze. Hamilton and St. Catharines, a low there of 15 degrees. Windsor area, we're talking about some more significant heat carrying on there. Thursday, 31 on Friday, feeling like 34. And then there you see a look at the cooler days, but also some cooler nights coming our way in time for the weekend.
Cool nights certainly welcome. Thanks, Colin. Finally tonight, the Toronto Caribbean Carnival is gearing up for its vibrant annual celebrations of food, music, and incredible costumes. Organizers giving a sneak peek today of what is in store for the festival's 56th year.
Our theme is diversity and culture lives here. And our journey to that theme really just started with trying to understand what does the carnival really represent, but what does it offer to the people who engage with it, to the city that hosts it, and to the country that loves it.
Beautifully put. Carnival will officially kick off on July 11th at Nathan Phillips Square, and that will be followed by events throughout the city and the GTA in the weeks leading up to a 4-day festival on Emancipation Day weekend in August. Always a fun party, and that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Mayoral Debate has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.